Okay, we got Scott and Erica on too, Julie.
Scott will not be here today, so we've got all voting members present that will be attending.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, fire it up. Let's get started. Got your recorder on?
Yep, we're good.
Great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's meeting. We'll start with introductions. I'm Dale Stein, Chair.
I'm PJ Emmerich. I'm the Region 2 Associate Environmental Analyst for Central New York.
Victor Giacomo, State Committee Staff for Western New York.
Tyler Knapp, Program Analyst with the State Committee.
Darren?
Darren Hickling, Vice Chair.
Erica?
Erica Goodman, voting member.
Thank you. Turn it over to you, Bethany.
Thank you, Dale. Matt, I'll actually let you go first.
Matt Brower, voting member.
Bethany Bistu, Executive Director, State Soil and Water Conservation Committee.
Brian Steinmiller, Assistant Director, Division of Land and Water Resources, Ag and Markets.
Jason Coquinos, Program Manager, State Committee, Water Quality Programs.
Tim Clark, Engineer for the State Committee.
Melissa Gordon, Administrative Assistant.
Jennifer Clifford, CRF Program Manager.
Ben Luskin, Region 5, AEA.
All right, I'll go through, I think, the rest of the state committee staff who might be on the line, and then we will do roll call for our advisory members. Greg Albrecht.
Good morning, everybody. Greg Albrecht, AEM Coordinator with the State Committee and Ag and Markets.
Ryan Cunningham. And Ron Bush. Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Good morning. Don't see Scott Pittbom on the line. Tim Sheldon.
Good morning, Tim Sheldon, Excelsior Fellow with the Department of Ag.
Good morning. Lauren Przeworski. All right. And we'll do a roll call of advisory members. So Ag and Markets. I see Jeff Kehoe on the line. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself? How about Cornell Cooperative Extension? Do we have anyone on from Cornell CALS?
Yep, Jared's here.
Morning, Jared.
Sorry,
CDEA.
Beth.
Jeff.
Here. Nice to see everyone.
Morning, Caitlin. Jeff, now your turn.
Bethany, I want to jump in. This is Jeff Kehoe, Associate Analyst for the Ag Protection Unit.
Good morning. How about DEC? Department of Health?
Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Kaczmarczyk from DOH.
Good morning, Paul. How about Department of State?
Hello, Kate Black, Department of State, and then also joining me today is Brittany Ryan, a new staff person who just recently hired at Department of State, who's going to be doing some watershed planning stuff with me.
Great. Well, thank you, Kate, and welcome, Brittany. Appreciate you joining in this morning. How about SUNY ESF? Okay, and NRCS. All right, and I will just say welcome to all of the districts and members of the public who are on the line this morning, feel free to go ahead and enter your name and affiliation in the chat.
Hey.
All right, Dale, I think we have concluded introductions.
Thank you, everyone. Review and approve minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? Motion to approve, please.
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Go to voting. Matt?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And Scott's not in yet, is he? Okay, approved. Thank you. Correspondence, staff updates, Bethany?
Yes, we do have, I believe, a staff update to share, but I'll let Brian go ahead and do that. We do not have any correspondence today to present to the state committee. So, Brian.
No, thank you. Thanks, Bethany. Thanks, everybody. Yes, I do have a staff status update, and just as a reminder to the state committee, we have been working very hard to fulfill a staff restructuring reorganization plan for the Division of Land and Water Resources. We continue to work very hard with HR and our front office to support the staffing plan for this whole division and obviously and specifically the Soil and Water Committee as well. And since the last time we met, we were successful in bringing a number of excellent, highly qualified candidates to fulfill a relatively new position. This is a backfill, yes, but it's kind of restructured position that will be managing the AIM-based program, providing support and technical training to our conservation districts and support to the team here to develop new and expanding tools for the agriculture environmental management program. So I would like to announce that Chastity Miller, Franklin County District Manager of 16 years, an individual who's held many positions within CDEA, including President of the Employees Association, was selected to fulfill this role in this position. So huge shout out to Chastity Miller, Franklin County District Manager, who will be taking on this role starting in early July. So July State Committee meeting, Chaz will be in a new position, new role with the State Committee. So congratulations to her. And just also a big shout out to all the candidates. It was a very competitive position and great experience to get to know everybody through that. But big congrats to Chaz.
Excellent.
Any questions? Yeah.
Very good. Anything else on any of that?
I just thought Chaz just the flash on the screen there.
I don't know where you want to discuss it, but I was just curious if we could get an update on the response to Orange County over that issue they raised a couple months ago about the certification of cover crops.
Yeah.
Soil health, I guess it was soil health actually, maybe.
Yep. I'll give you an update on where we are at. So we're planning to have a recommendation drafted and bring it to the state committee next month.
Okay.
It's taken some time. We wanted to kind of do, I guess, a deeper dive into the development of the policy and look back to, the original reason why the CCA certification requirement was built into the policy in the first place. And then go from there to figure out whether or not it would be appropriate to make an exception for a district staff person with certain years of experience. So that's where we're at. But we're working on putting together some final touches on the recommendation that will be presented next month.
Okay, good. Next on our agenda is Ag Non-Point Source, Jason and Tyler.
Okay. Tyler, do you want to start off with the program status report?
Sure, Bethany, are you pulling up dashboards?
Oh, yeah, thank you for keeping me on task here. Got too caught up with introductions. Here we are.
Thanks, Bethany. So focusing on Ag Non-Point program dashboards, going off the bottom line of the table here. 8 active rounds still, 365 total contracts across all of those rounds. Estimated value is $122 million. Pending contracts, round 29, we have 18 pending contracts at this point. A few more have been executed over the last month. The pending contract total is about $7.1 million. As I mentioned, a few more executed contracts, so our active contracts have gone up since last month, so we're up to 157. The estimated value of those is about $57 million. Completed contracts, busy season right now, and I think we have more contracts closures coming in, so we're at 177, and that's almost $54.5 million. As an update, I did talk to Scott yesterday for the round 22. I think he is out there today actively trying to work to close that one out. So
Excellent. Any questions for Tyler? Amendments?
Awesome, thank you. So I will go over our amendments. These are all going to be for state committee consideration, and they are all time extension requests for round 26 of Ag Non-Point Source. I'll start in Region 3 with Albany County, C701400 Basic Creek CNMP implementation. The district is requesting an 18-month extension. The contractors need a little extra time to finish the exclusion fencing, tree planting, forage plantings, and ground leveling. They have completed the waste storage and heavy use area, so the project is mostly in progress and in near completion. Scott, who is in the field, confirmed today could not be here, but he does support the request and refers to state committee. If there's any questions about it, I can answer on Scott's behalf.
Questions or discussion, anyone? Motion to approve, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Erica? Matt?
Aye.
Thank you. Next.
Okay, the next two are from Delaware County, and they are somewhat connected or related. So C701407, David Grant, Waste Storage Transfer System, Access Control, and Riparian Forest System. District is requesting another 18 months to finish the project. Progress was slow due to a change in ownership and restructuring of the farm business. Other farms have been incorporated into the overall business structure, so they've had to change their business model, and it just slowed the progress on the grant. So the access control and riparian systems have been surveyed, are in their design phase, and the waste storage is currently underway. The farm is committed to all practices, and they see everything being done by the end of 2025. This is also supported by Scott and refers to state committee for their vote.
Larry Underwood is on the line, district executive director of the Delaware County. Do you have anything additional you want to add here? I'll take that as a no. We can move forward now.
Hopefully they weren't just muted and talking, so Anyway,
Sorry to interrupt, but I did see Larry talking, but it looked like he was on mute.
Thank you, because we're sharing, so we don't forget about it.
excellent. Any other questions in discussion? Motion, please.
So move.
And second.
Second.
Yeah, we actually had two moves. We'll go with it. We had two motions, so we got it moved and seconded. Voting, Matt,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Karen,
Yeah, it's just cutting out. You guys.
yeah, okay, approved. Thank you. Yeah, we're having a little bit of microphone problems here, so pardon me if I delay some.
If I may, I think,
Next one.
can you hear me now?
Oh,
Dale? Yeah, I'm
Yeah, now I
sorry.
can hear you.
I was muted. I apologize for that. I do want to thank the committee for considering our request. So thank you very much. And as I was saying, with mute, it was explained very well what the situation is there, and we do have things underway, and we're pretty pretty certain we're going to have everything completed for our round 26 work on those farms by the end of next year. So thank you again.
Thank you. Next, please.
Okay, next one is also Delaware County, round 26, C71408, Shane Salter's waste storage and transfer system, silage leaching control system, heavy use area runoff management and access control system, and riparian buffer system. This is also an 18-month extension to complete the implementation and close the grant. This is one of the farms that was folded into the other farm's operation, so they needed a little bit of time to undergo their herd changes and management changes. This took a few years, and survey and design for the project was delayed. The farm is committed to completing it, and they anticipate everything to take place during the 2025 season. So Scott also supported this and refers to state committee for their vote.
Comments, questions?
I can quickly add that, again, thank you. That's Jason speaking for us, I believe, right?
That's me. Yep.
Thanks, Jason. You did very well explaining it. And again, this is that merger of the two farms. After we were awarded round 26, we were notified that the farms were planning this merger into an LLC. And there was some uncertainty about what animals would still remain on Shane Stalter's farm because they moved the dairy herd to Dave Grant's farm. But they did ultimately decide to keep all the heifers and young stock at the Shane Stalter farm. It's still required through their CNMP waste storage there. So we then had the green light to go ahead and do we're working on the design for that waste storage now, and we'll have that bid out and constructed by the end of next year as well. So thank you again for the consideration.
Thank you. Motion, please.
So moved.
And a second.
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 Great, moved and seconded. Voting, Matt,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
approved. Thank you very much. Next.
Okay, next one is Schoharie County, round 26, C71434, the Carker Barnyard Improvement Project. This is requesting a 1-year extension to complete all components of the practice. They are also going through herd changes and livestock management changes. And additionally, prices have increased enough that the farm is requesting additional time to build up enough funding to meet their part of the cost share component of the project. Scott supported this also again and refers to state committee.
Excellent. Questions, comments, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
So move.
Moved. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
And moved and seconded. Voting, Matt,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
approved. Thank you very much. Next,
Okay. The next, we're moving to Region 4. This is for Washington County Soil and Water Conservation District, C701443, the Foot CNMP, NMP, Nutrient Management Project. Sorry about that. They are requesting an extension to June 30th, 2026. This is a 2-year request. The farm is undergoing a change in operation and scale, which has delayed the start of the project. The engineer has begun plans for implementation, but they have delayed implementation due to price volatility. Ryan has supported the request, but refers to state committee.
questions, comments, anyone?
Just a little more detail maybe on what needs to be implemented.
Oh, sure. I don't know if Ryan's on.
I'm just curious about the price volatility and so on.
One moment.
I believe the overall project, because I think I wrote that application, when I was in Washington County. I think it's a very small dairy. And then I think the overall project addresses all of the resource concerns on the farm. It's a pretty small manure storage, small silage leachate collection, a few more BMPs that were all integrated in there. But yeah, like I said, when I was there, they were only milking like 20 cows or something like that. So I don't know if they're increasing in size, maybe at the same time. But that's what I remember anyway about the project.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious as to whether it looks like there's enough of a problem that it's gonna get done, or whether, you know, we're gonna label stuff the problem.
So they're going to be working on, I'm sorry, moving on. Be a little more prepared.
Jason, I have the practices pulled up if you want me to run through them.
Oh, yeah, that would be helpful because it's a little out of order to me. Thank you, Rob. That would help. Tyler.
Yeah, no worries. Ben, you were right. Looks like small dairy farm and very inclusive on the practices. So waste storage and transfer system, significant heavy use area protection, diversion, fencing, access, waste storage and transfer, structure for water control, and it looks like they're doing a roof and cover. So it seems pretty inclusive.
Yeah, I could see where you'd want a 2-year window to get, you won't get all that done in one construction season, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that given the size of the dairy and the amount of work that has to get done, even with a 2-year extension, that they're gonna get done, but.
Those are individual practice systems, right? So, you know, priorities on the farm and what doesn't get done, the funding would be returned, but.
Right, so,
You know,
yeah.
hopefully they'd be able to get
Exactly.
as much of that done as possible. That's really.
More
ambitious
discussion?
grant.
Well, I guess that's my concern. It seems like it is very innovative, but, okay.
That was a compliment. Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for the info.
Yeah, good question.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Move, second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Voting, Matt,
Aye.
Erica? Darren?
Aye.
Thank you. Approved. Last one.
Okay, last one is Essex County, around 26, C71411, Bewaga Bay Beef Farm. This is a request for 1 year to complete implementation. This is being done in partnership with EQIP grants, and the district and the farm are just requesting 1 year to close up those grants to meet their portion of the cost share. It's nearing completion with only an access road and drainage ditch pending on completion. So Ryan from Region 4 supports the request, but refers to state committee.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Well, I'll second. I don't know which one. We spoke at the same time, so I'll
Oh,
second.
yeah, we're good. Moved and seconded, voting, Matt,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
and Darren.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I think that's the last of our amendments that I can see.
Yep.
Next, anything else
Thank
on non-point source?
Not for adding non-point source. Thank you all for that time.
Do you
Thank
have
you.
just a very brief update on round 30 RFP?
Yeah, round 30 RFP is in the works. We're planning to release it in July.
Bring it to the state.
Bring it to the state committee in July. So it's currently being written and we're just making changes from 29.
30 years.
30 already. Wow. 30 years. Wow. All right, next on the agenda is CRF, Jennifer and Tyler.
Great, thanks. Now I'll run through the program dashboards real quick. So CRF updates, 5 active rounds, 185 total contracts across those 5 rounds. Estimated value is $32.5 million. All round 7 contracts are still pending, and there's 60 of those, and that's just under $16 million. Active contracts are at 68 currently, and that's about $11.7 million. And I believe we did have a couple of closeouts come through in the last month, so we are up to 42 completed contracts, and that is at $3.6 million.
Excellent.
Thanks. Thank you, Tyler. So
Amendments?
yes, I'm going to give a quick updates before I jump into the amendments. Tyler had mentioned some closeouts. We are getting close to closing out round 3. So we've closed out the first 2 rounds, and we're getting close to fully closing out round 3 as well. So projects are really progressing along. Round 7 contracts are starting to move forward. We have 42 of 60 contracts that are under internal review. So districts will start seeing those contracts this summer. Round 8, the final posting of the Q&A has happened. It's out on the website, SharePoint, and was emailed out to districts. Applications are due June 24th by 5 p.m. and we've already received 9 applications. So it's going to be a big round.
That's like next week already.
It is coming up soon though, so yeah. Time is flying. We do have 2 amendments for consideration. They both, the first one is a holdover from last meeting. This is Fulton County Soil and Water, where Matt will need to recuse from the consideration of this amendment. This is to, are we still good to proceed with this one? Do we have?
Yes, because Dale can vote, so we'll have 3.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so this is a round 4 contract. They're requesting a time extension to the end of 2024. There were complications securing a contractor for the irrigation water management system, and the farm is committed to completing this project in the new time frame.
Discussion, questions, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second, please.
Okay.
Moved and seconded, voting. Matt,
Abstaining from voting.
Okay, sorry. Erica?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And I vote aye also, so it's approved. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So the second amendment is from Schoharie County. This is a round 5. They are requesting a time extension to 6/30/2025. The project had some project cost increase, and the farm was unsuccessful in securing their equip for to cover their portion of the funding. So some changes occurred to the project. The farm is still moving forward with the project, and bids have been received, so they are still committed to completing the project within the new time frame.
Discussion, questions, anyone? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Voting, Matt?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
And Darren?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. Do we have anything else on CRF?
That was all I had.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along, round to, double check, yep. Round, Jason with the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient and Methane Management Program.
Right on schedule.
Okay.
Okay. So thanks, everyone. So we'd just like to present to you on our new, get everyone's face on it there. CAFO Enhanced Nutrient and Methane Management Program. This is a Department of Agriculture and Markets program that's not through this committee, but it overlaps a lot with state committee programs. So we just wanted to update you as it is live. It went live earlier this month for Dairy Month. And it's just a offering for CAFOs and districts that we're proud of. So we were just going to give you the background on it and answer any questions. This is, I'm just going to say that there's going to be a more in-depth presentation next week for districts, but this is a higher level one just to give the voting members and all state committee members an overview of the new program. So as background, there's about 500 CAFOs across New York State. A CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation, is just a certain number of animals kept confined for greater than 45 days in an area with no vegetation. Just some background for it. The majority are in Western New York and Finger Lakes area. And the majority of the CAFOs are dairies with over 300 head to them. In 2017, the Clean Water Infrastructure Act allocated $50 million to help CAFO farms on water quality projects. This was done through 3 rounds of the CAFO Waste Storage and Transfer Program. $29 million was implemented to help CAFO farms implement through our department waste storages for manure, which is a boon for water quality, as it has a place to store manure and also supports nutrient spreading in a way that is sustainable and doesn't contribute to water quality problems. So this has been help for water quality and also for, I would just say, local development, economic development. The size of these things is, really impressive, and the amount of work that goes into them, I just think doesn't get, enough credit sometimes. So they're really impressive projects that the state put in cost share $29 million to over those first 3 rounds of CAFO. And so that was a help for water quality. And what is being considered a lot, especially on days like today with the heat outside, is climate change and greenhouse gas management on CAFO farms as well. So here is a diagram from Cornell Agronomy that just shows some various pathways of greenhouse gases on farm operations. Most arrows are going one direction here, but there is a lot that we can do and what we do through our practices to reduce these and mitigate these and even bring some carbon back into soil and have an overall benefit to do our part for our part in the sector of climate change and provide a better Earth for our future. So the remaining 21 million of the 50 million is being allocated to a new program called the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient and Methane Management Program. And the goal of this program is to enhance water quality and greenhouse gas emission on CAFO farms. So CAFO farms are permitted. They are already meeting their requirements for water quality and for greenhouse gas management. But this is funding to allow them to go that next step to really polish what they do and to just enhance and bring their management operations truly up to speed. So eligible projects for this grant are going to need to meet both of those different components of water quality and greenhouse gas mitigation. So going back to that slide, 2 slides ago, showing the diagram of the different greenhouse gases. This waste storage there showed, it does contribute some greenhouse gases just because storing manure in an anaerobic condition will naturally lead to greenhouse gas emissions. So sometimes practices that we do don't have a nil effect. So that is the focus of these, is to have both a positive impact on greenhouse gas emission and at least not a deleterious effect on water quality. So it is broken into 2 tracks. I would like to say that's going to be 2 rounds of 21 million. So it's 14 million first round and 7 million second round. First round is broken into 2 tracks. There is, and it might be easier to say it, cover and flare and non-cover and flare. Track A would be the non-cover and flare, and it's going to include the systems you see on the right there, cost shared from the state up to 80%. And then track B would be cover and flare with associated projects, 7 million in the first year, cost share up to 100%, with some additional reporting that goes to it. And so track A, the non-cover and flare track, is going to include projects that are beneficial for greenhouse gas management and water quality, not cover and flare. And they are explained in greater detail in the RFP, and different components to them and reasons why they're included, and perhaps some reasons that they would requirements to them to meet those dual goals. So they are explained in the great. I'm not going to go through each one, but there's a lot of options there, and it hopefully opens up a lot of management options for the CAFOs. This incorporates, traditionally structural practices like erosion control, stormwater type things, down to more cultural and management type of practice, and implement those, such as nutrient management or prescribed feed management. Track B is covering waste storages and covering flaring waste storages. So this is going to cover new waste storages with cover and flares, or existing waste storages, adding cover and flares to existing waste storages. This is going to have, this was put into a separate track because it was just too difficult to kind of compare this type of project to the other types of systems, both in terms of the challenges of implementation, but also the impact that it has on greenhouse gas. So it would be maybe tough to compare them and score them against each other. So we thought maybe it's just best to compare cover and flare projects against themselves and have the remaining projects in their own separate track. So we're going to be just offering one track just for cover and flare, similar to CRF. The eligible expenses for this are similar to our other programs. So there is going to be cost share for contract administration services and architectural engineering, consultant, and legal. We can cover for on farm level BMP implementation and direct BMP implementation, site preparation, construction, waste storage closures. The RFP was released on June 11th of this month. We are currently accepting questions, and we are answering them in batches every several weeks. We haven't, gotten any yet, but we will be releasing them onto SharePoint. The final questions will be due on September 5th, and the final answers will be due posted on September 26th. The proposals will be finally due on October 28th, and awards will be announced and issued in December. There is a second round to this expected, but it hasn't been put out yet. We're just focused on round 1. On screen is what a typical application package is going to look like for this program. There's the application form, which we newly created. Our SW workbook, this incorporates all 7 of our SW forms. The landowner commitment and signature, the board resolution from the district, the historic preservation map showing no historic areas that would be impacted from this, financial hardship supporting material. There's preference points for financial hardship within this grant. So that is going to support the answers that they are providing for us there. And then there's some optional materials that they can include, such as pictures and maps and whatever else could support their grant. Additional requirements of the grant or some other restrictions are that it's limited to just 1 farm per track. So no multi-farm or multi-track proposals. Districts can apply multiple times, but only 1 farm per round in a track. So that a farm could not do track A and track B within 1 round. So track A is cost shared up to 80%. Track B is cost shared up to 100%, but there are some reporting requirements that are going to support our CRF round 8 and round 9 match funding. They are on screen, and I think people might be interested in hearing them. So they need to be FSA enrolled and compliant with the highly erodible land and wetland identification on their properties for the duration of the project. There's the environmental CPA 52 form from the NRCS that needs to be completed. Our own SW7 form also needs to be completed. And all this is going to be due at contract execution, not necessarily at application. So it's required for the grant, but due at the time of plan of work, not necessary application. So maybe that gives a little extra time to pull information together. So this is going to be internally reviewed by Ag and Markets, and on screen is the point breakdown. It's a total of 50 points, and they're going to be aggregated into 150 for one package, 3 scores, 50 points each, plus another 3 points for financial hardship benefits, making the maximum score 153. It's broken up into the scope of work, the demonstration of identified benefits, and the cost effectiveness. In the demonstration of identified benefits, we're looking for a breakdown of quantification of the greenhouse gases that will be removed. So we provide some tools and calculations for the applicants to list the greenhouse gases that will be removed. Water quality enhancements that will be there. There are many options to explain this. It's more qualitative and some options to quantify in there. And then proportion of animal units and acres being benefited from the project. Just what size of the CAFO is being benefited, or what size of the animals are being benefited by the proposed project. And ensuring that it's feasible and that it's cost effective, that the money going into it does the most good for greenhouse gas and nutrient water quality benefit. So awards are going to be in December 2024. We will let all awardees know. We will debrief non-awarded projects too, so that they have another shot at it next year, or they can apply what they've learned to other state committee programs. The contracts are for 5 years, and they are going to be managed by me, Jason Coginos, through payments with interim reports similar to CAFO, the first 3 rounds. So they send in their status to date, and we issue payments as they're needed, 25, 65%, et cetera. And so I will be giving a more in-depth presentation. I'm gonna move out of my daughter's face. A more in-depth presentation next Tuesday to districts about how to apply and what's going to be involved. So tune in for that. It'll be June 25th at 1 p.m. and we will be saving the recording on SharePoint. And more information is on the Ag and Markets website there on it, and that QR code there if you want to jump and learn more. But if you have questions in the meantime, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about it. But that was kind of the snapshot of the grants that's currently live, and we're excited to be having it. Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody. Any questions?
Okay, go ahead. Jason, if you're undersubscribed, can you run it into a 3rd year, the applications? If you have money left over.
I can try that.
Yeah.
I think that option definitely would be on the table, and we'll communicate with division of budget, as soon as we know that, if that is the case, and seek additional approval to continue move forward. We're thinking that 2 rounds should probably meet the demand, but should we come up short, we've been authorized to spend the entire 21 million, so I would imagine we'd be able to go out with a 3rd round if we had to.
Excellent. Thank you. Questions for Jason, anyone? Or comments?
Dale, this is Brian. I just want to comment, huge thanks to the entire team here working on this over a period of many months. Tim Sheldon, when he came in as an Excelsior Fellow, and the division staff, Greg leading a tremendous amount of the discussions. Jason coming in, and we said to him, well, you got Agnon Point and you got this Duke program too. But what's really unique about this one is the first time that we've blended both water quality and nutrient management with greenhouse gas management. And that proved to be a lot more complicated than we initially, or at least I initially gave thought to it. But the way that the team here has been able to simplify the application to its most fundamental points, tying that to the proposal rating sheet, I'm really proud of the product. I'm proud of how it came out, and I look forward to the response to this particular program. It is exciting. Jason's terms, Jason's words. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else comments? Next on our agenda is state aid to districts with Ben.
All right.
All right, Dale. I'm just going to do a little recap on state aid to districts for 2023. If I can get this to work. There we go. All right, so just to start off, a little refresher on state aid to districts. Part A, B, and C is on your screen. So Part A is a 50% reimbursement to districts based off of technical eligible expenses, which I have another slide on. All these we'll kind of touch on them a little bit more. But districts are able to earn up to $60,000. New York City counts as 5 for each one of their boroughs, so they're able to earn up to $30,000 or $300,000. And it's a 50-50 match. So districts have to show $120,000 of expenses in order to earn that $60,000. Salary for managers and technicians only, not clerical staff, along with a lot of other expenses that I'll touch on some of those in a minute. Part B is for a conservation project. It's $6,000 annually. For that conservation project that's pre-approved by state committee, mostly by me, as long as it meets the qualifications, then the district is allowed to go ahead and do that project. Again, New York City counts as 5, so they get $30,000 to do their project. There is no match requirement, but we do track it. Most districts do report some form of match on these projects that ultimately statewide well exceeds the actual amount of money that goes out to the districts across the state. We distribute $372,000 worth of Part C money. The match that we get for that goes with that far, like I said, far exceeds that $372,000. Salary can be used to do these projects, so you can pay district salaries with Part B. But it is state funds, so it cannot go on the Part A eligible expenditure sheet if you choose to do that. And then Part C is performance measures, financial assistance. It's all the money that remains after Part A and B goes to Part C. Again, no match is required, but we ask for it, so we do track it. And salaries can apply, does not need to be subtracted from Part A. So that's the difference between A and B, or sorry, B and C, is once you earn the Part C funds, they're considered district funds. So they do not have to be subtracted off of those other reports. This is just a little chart that shows the growth of state aid to districts. Thanks to Tyler for throwing this together for me. Over the years, you can see there's been some hefty increases, especially after 2015. It goes up, then kind of levels off for a few years and then keeps going up again. So the last one, 2024, is just what was passed in the most recent budget here a couple months ago, $17.25 million for the next round, and that's what will be dispersed the end of February, March of next year for the most part, once we get all the reports in that are due February 15th of each year. So as I said, 3.72 million goes to Part A every year. If any of those funds are not earned by a district or districts, they kind of trickle down to Part C. So they still end up in the bank accounts of the districts. They just get reallocated to a different line item, essentially. $372,000 is what goes to Part B. Usually we have some return funds with Part B every year. A few districts that don't do the project or they don't use all of the funds. Same thing, they get usually reimbursed back to us. The districts have to cut a check to Ag and Markets, but it goes right back in the state aid pot of money and it will get allocated to next year's performance measures. So anything that gets reimbursed this year, usually we get the check sometime between June and August. That will go right down to fiscal down the hall and they'll put it back in our bank account for use next March. So this again is just shows you how over the years Part A and B has stayed the same, $60,000 and $6,000. However, you can see that Part C amount has jumped over the years again, especially between 15 and 16, jumped quite a bit. And then for the most part has just continued to go up from there. There's a few years you'll see there's little dips, like from 16 to 17, it went down a little bit. That's because in 16, there was more districts that did not earn all the performance measures. So that means if you earn the maximum amount, you're going to earn a little bit more. 2017, districts did a little bit better job at earning all of the performance measures, statewide. So the amount went down a little bit before creeping up again. Same thing happened in 2019 to 2020 there, till it keeps going up. So you see in the last column, 2024, our estimate for next year for Part C is about $227,000 per district on top of the $6 and $60 that they'll be getting for the other performance measures, for a total of $293,000 per district is what we're looking at.
And that will get paid out in 2025.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of these numbers, I have to keep going back to them over and over again. In certain spreadsheets of how it's laid out. But yeah, pretty much each year that you see on the top of this, the money was paid out in the following year. Okay. Yeah, this is more like the budget year, and then the money gets paid out in the following year. It's just how we've always tracked it. So that's just a total of a 256% increase over the last 9 years. So quite a bit of extra money going towards this program. Part A eligible expenditures. So as I said, districts show $120,000 worth of eligible expenditures, and then they're able to earn 60 of that. So reimbursement is limited to expenditures for employment of the district manager and technicians. and the purchase of supplies and equipment related to those positions. So pretty much all the purchases are supposed to be technical of some nature. So the salary and benefits, vehicles to pull equipment itself, no-till drills or any other soil health equipment or hydro seeders, that sort of thing are all eligible to be reimbursed through this program, along with tools, hand tools or equipment, tools to fix the equipment that you have. Insurance is a pretty big one for certain districts, auto equipment, and I think inland marine is a big one, liability insurance. They all count towards this. Some districts, are looking at $15,000+ a year that they're spending on insurance, if not more. Along with contractual services, that could be engineering, planning, really, you name it. If it's for a project, it could be reimbursed as long as it's not being reimbursed through another state program like AgNot Point or Sierra or something along those lines. And then miscellaneous supplies, cell phone plans, hotspots, computers, laptops, travel and training, repairs to equipment, oil changes, that sort of thing are all eligible as Part A expenses. In 2023, there was 3 districts that did not meet that $120,000 minimum requirement. They missed it by a range of $4,000 to $19,000. Typically, if districts fall short of meeting Part A, it's usually due to either limited staff or staff turnover, which it pretty much was in all 3 of these cases. As you can imagine, a big part of earning Part A is pretty much salary and benefits. A lot of districts come close, or if not completely meet Part A just on their salaries. Partly depends on how involved they are with other state programs, not only ours, but also things like WQIP through DEC. If they are billing a lot of their salary time, hourly time to our programs, then they don't have as much that's eligible to go to Part A. But usually that's a couple staff people per district, and then the other couple, like the manager, maybe another tech that focuses more on like stormwater. Their salary is typically more or completely reported on this Part A report. For a few of my districts, being embedded in the county doesn't necessarily help sometimes because their salary is just picked up by other sources. They also tend to not have as many staff people on and have a hard time controlling that themselves with their board. So they don't normally have as much salary and benefits to report. And then I put on here equipment, vehicles, and purchases. That's something that, again, that can go a long way if you're buying a $40,000+ piece of equipment. Some districts are really good at keeping track of their Part A expenses. It seems if they know they're gonna be on the verge of falling short by $20,000, if they've had staff turnover, whatever it may be, they seem to be really good at keeping track of that ahead of time and going out and buying a piece of equipment to put them over that amount. So they know they're going to be reimbursed for at least half of it. So why not get $20,000 instead of falling $20,000 short, even if it means you have to, put a little bit more in. So just something to think about for all districts out there.
You think there is a lack of those types of purchases just because of the supply? Like maybe
That doesn't hurt. That's a question we get a lot. It's like, when do I report this? I ordered it in July, but we're not going to take possession of it until next March.
Right.
Because of that lag in delivery and stuff. And I usually just say, well, when did you pay them? So if you paid them up front, whatever it may be, then put it on this year. If you didn't pay them until next year, put it on next year. I encourage them to put it all on the same report, so we're not splitting it up into multiple years. And so far, that's what I've seen. I haven't really seen anybody splitting it up into multiple reports, but yeah, that's how I've handled it best. Statewide, in order if everybody maxed out that $120,000 amount, you would need $7.4 million in order to earn the 3.72. What we saw last year is districts reported $20.45 million in eligible expenditures on this one report. So there's some districts that easily meet this requirement. There's a handful of districts that kind of barely meet it from year to year. But like I said, overall, we're statewide as a whole, we're meeting this by almost 3 times what the minimum would be required. Moving on to Part B. So as I said, so districts are given $6,000 up front to complete a proposed conservation project. So they submit to us a proposal. Those are due in November 1st of each year. And we analyze those, make sure they meet the minimal requirement, and then we give them the $6,000 typically in December with a memo that says you can start construction now. So they have typically around 13 months to complete that entire project. Many of those projects now seem to be, because this $6,000 doesn't go as far as it used to be, plus Part C has grown so much, that $6,000 is tended to match larger projects. Some of those projects are actually Part C projects. Some of them are we see a lot of WQIP, FEMA, a variety of other things that Part B goes to match, just because it's easier to kind of add it on to a project that maybe a district already has in the works. So I'm currently still reviewing the 2023 reports. I can do a report out on those at a future meeting if we want. Typically, Part B reports are the last report that we get to each year. Everything else kind of takes priority over this one. So I'll be starting review of those probably next week.
And the reason for that is right, because the statute and the reg, you only have a limited amount of time to get those claims for A and C.
Right. A and C take priority because the money is sitting in our account. We want to get it out to the districts before the blackout period, which is normally right before Water Quality Symposium, where Part B, the districts, like I said, have already had that money since the previous December. So their districts aren't really waiting on us for anything in those scenarios. There has been a couple districts that have already let me know that they did not complete their project, so they will be sending money back. Usually we have, since I've been here, 2 or 3 districts a year that send that money back, or part of it anyway, for one reason or another. And I don't think I mentioned for Part A, we typically have 1 or 2, sometimes none, districts that don't qualify for all the money. This year we actually had 3, I believe, that did not qualify. I just didn't say that for all the money. Like I said, that just trickles down to Part C.
I'll just jump in here too. We'll be featuring a number of the Part B projects in our 2023 State Committee Annual Report. And I just think the Part B projects are so interesting because it really allows a district to do unique conservation projects. It's such a wide gambit. So I've kind of flipped through some of those reports, and from like educational trails to, stream stabilization projects to like planning type projects. It's just really cool that they can really get creative with these.
Yeah, there's a wide variety that's being done with a small pot of money.
Yeah.
So it's good. Part C, so as I said, the remaining state aid to district funds all go to Part C, along with any unearned Part A funds or returned Part B funds. Districts earn these funds by meeting all of the standards of each performance measure, of which there's 5, and each performance measure has several different standards and requirements. So in 2023, the amount for a district who qualified for all 5 performance measures was just a little over, almost $208,000. So that was an increase of $26,000 over 2022, which was a pretty good jump. And as we already said, next year, you're going to be looking at probably about another $20,000 increase over that, because we're looking somewhere around $227,000 for next year. So this was the second year that New York City participated. They never participated until 2 rounds ago. They again came in about at 50% of is what they earned. They're striving to do a little bit better on that with a few changes. But this is great for them, another income source, and they're able to really put this money to good use for their staff and program. So we're glad to see their continued participation. There was one district other than New York City that did not fully meet all 5 performance measures this year. They fell a little short on performance measure 1. That's kind of the norm outside of COVID. If I had my notes section up, I had a bunch of data, but if we go back to, I think it was like 2015, there was like 14 districts that did not meet all of the performance measures. The next year it went down to like 12. I think it was 2017. It jumped all the way down to like 4 districts that did not meet all the performance measures. And then outside of that, 18, 19, and then this year, 2023, there's been 1 district each of those years that did not meet all the performance measures. During COVID, if you remember, we really revised them and scaled back all the requirements. So during COVID, all 58 districts or 57 met all of the requirements during COVID. So we'll see what next year brings. The 1 district already has told me that they have already made sure that that requirement was well met for this year already. So that's good to hear. This is just a reminder of where the performance measure percentages stand. So on the left is what 2023 was, along with 2019 pre-COVID. And then on the right is what we set them for 2024. So just minor tweaks based on feedback from the districts of which performance measures were easier to meet, harder to meet, and a lot of other feedback that we got from them. Hourly rates data. So this data comes from the hourly rates report that we get from all the districts again every year due February 15th. And the data is used in our RFPs for CRF, Ag Non-Point, EBM, AM, and then the districts can also use these rates for their other programs. A lot of them choose to use them for like Part C or Part B if they're billing time to those. And they're even able to use them in other programs as well. So this is just the chart that we kind of use. This is a comparison showing what the previous rates were compared to this year's rates. So that's on the left is each position that we calculate each year. The one that does not appear, that appears on here that we don't actually use yet, but we're tracking it, is that senior manager position. But in the middle is the data that comes from the 2022 report. And then on the right is the data that comes from the 2023 report. So you can see this year we actually had quite the bump in all of these, most of these rates. Almost all of them went up by $4 an hour as far as the ones we use, like manager, technical, senior tech, and secretarial. Engineering only went up by $1. But this shows that districts are definitely getting increases, it seems. Compared to normally these only go up by like $1 or $2, or they may stay level for a few years before they go up again. So definitely had quite the increase on this, which is what we would like to see.
For that senior manager rate, that's interesting. Does that follow the same kind of benchmark, I guess, that we use for the senior tech? So like a manager with 10 years of experience.
Just with a district. It doesn't mean they've been a manager for 10 years. That last year I broke that number out too, and that number goes down quite a bit, as you could. Well, the sample size goes down quite a lot because there's only so many managers across the state that have been a manager for 10 years. But that also, it does bump up the hourly rate a lot more too. But that number is kind of harder to come by. When I kind of did that breakdown last year, I had to reached out to the other regional guys and said, who's been, because we don't ask how many years have you been a manager, right? So I had to kind of figure that out with the help of the regional guys of who had been a manager for 10 years or more. But it was kind of interesting to look at it that way.
Yeah, it is.
So over the last 5 years, is that note on the bottom, that's an increase per position somewhere between 13.5 and 19.8%.
And that you may have said this, but just so folks know, right, that hourly rate includes benefit package, fringe, all that, right?
Yeah, when we add, yeah, that's the
That's
total,
not
correct.
base salary.
That's not base salary dollars an hour, that includes fringe. And then when, for our programs, we add the $5 overhead on top of that number. Yep, yeah. So that's just the memo that we send out, right around April 1st at the start of the fiscal year every year. That just gives the districts the breakdown. Those are the numbers. That's how it's published in the RFPs as well. So, and there, you can't read it on here, but just for the voting members, there's like a little note on here that says, you know, if it's already an active RFP, an active contract, the districts have to use whatever's published in that RFP. This is basically the new rates from April 1st going forward. So district staffing numbers, so that also we get by over analyzing the hourly rates report. So quite a few numbers on here, but this is kind of how we track it by year and then break it down by position. So the yellow highlights on the bottom is from this year. So as you can imagine, district manager doesn't really change. That's been at 57. That's just because one district never backfilled their manager. Their engineer essentially does their manager's position, but they're tracked as an engineer and not as a manager. I'm going to skip around here a little bit. The engineers there kind of in the center column went up one this year from 7. We just started tracking that in 2018. You can see it hasn't really changed much. It goes up and down a couple. Secretarial positions that did bump a little bit this year as far as full-time and part-time, so that we have a higher number than what we did before, which is good to see. The asterisks that are there for full-time, it's on the total all the way to the right, and then the larger number, which is the one we normally focus on because it varies, is the technical number. It's at 185. The reason the asterisks are there is because I reached out to a few districts that in the past have not reported all of their staff. They used to leave some of their staff off. So trying to get it equal playing field or equal numbers for all the districts across the board, I reached out to them, and those 2 districts happily gave me all their numbers this year, which was good. So the bump of new staff is a little bit skewed in these numbers because of that. I think it equaled about 3 full-time clerks that got added to this list. So we're probably only at like an increase of 1. And the number of full-time technicians was like 14 between those 2 districts that got added to this list. So it's definitely still a good bump. I think I broke that down on the next slide. What is that? All right, yeah, I'll go back to this. All right, I did break it down on the next slide. I think it's like 12 new technicians across the state were hired last year. So those are actual new positions that were hired. Most of them were in PJ's region 2. There's a few here or there for the rest of us, but most were in the Finger Lakes region overall.
Hey, Ben,
Yeah.
do you think, and I know we've had this conversation before, but the hourly rates reports are the best place to capture the just raw number
Of staff. Without just asking everybody, how many do you have?
Seems like it could be a pretty easy opening question to the annual report data, no?
Probably could.
But we could,
Yeah.
or at least just opening question to the hourly rate, say, you know, this data set is really important, not only to establish those hourly rates, but also just to give us that number. So just report out, you know, maybe we need to define, right? It's going to include seasonal interns or it's not, but you know.
Right.
So
like you said, I think it'd have to be pretty well defined because right now, as it's not that tricky. It takes me kind of a day to go through this and analyze the hourly rates data once we have it in the spreadsheet to figure out like these numbers. But it kind of gives you an idea of right who's part-time, who's not, and it kind of lays it all out for you there.
Yeah.
So we would just have to make sure we broke it down.
because overall, right, it's a way for us to help measure, quantify capacity. And, you know, the increases the district data over these years have been justified by way of helping the state helping districts to build capacity, right? So that's where this data becomes really important, and it's a great being able to use the data and tell the story the way we are. It's great,
Right.
You know how we can even better, refine that over the years.
Yes.
To the reason why I asked the question.
Yep. Yeah, well, and to tie that in, so that last thing that just popped up there, that
Yeah,
orange
that-
line there, that
yeah.
first large state aid bump is right there. So
Yeah.
literally, it got bumped up where that orange line was paid out in 2017, and you can see that's when staffing really started to increase.
Yep.
It jumped that first year from 130 to 148, and then yeah, it's gone up and down, but it's progressively gotten bigger as the pots of money have gotten.
And we recognize that it's not just about adding funding. There's a lot of consideration that goes into hiring staff and then retaining staff, training staff, and capacity is not just about the numbers. We know that, but it's one of the
backfilling positions.
data sets that we would, yes, be able to use to determine our impact. Thank you.
All right, just a few more numbers. I think this is my last slide. So yeah, that's what I just said. Districts added 12 new positions, tech positions, 1 full-time clerk and 2 part-time clerks in 2023. 43 of the 57 managers are senior managers. So that's where your senior manager number comes from, 10 plus years of district experience. 65 of the 185 technicians are senior technicians. That senior tech rate is also where we get our AAM rate. That's why we use that as well. It sets our AAM hourly rate for the 2-year time period. There were only 4 part-time technicians and 3 part-time engineers reported. That over the years, if you saw the chart that we have, has gone down a lot. That used to be like in 20 something, and now it's gone down quite a bit less. So for a statewide average, we know that staff is all over the place as far as how many staff per district, but it does average out just at 5.4 staff per district. So as a whole, so it's definitely ticked up a little bit over the last few years, which is good. And that's all I've got. Anybody's got any questions?
So we did get a question in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about, it's about the senior manager rate.
Yep.
Will the new rates moving forward include that senior manager hourly rate?
That's what we want to do, I guess. Yeah. I mean, we started, it's similar to the engineering rate. I think at some point we started collecting it to see if we would end up using it. And whether or not we want to, if it makes a difference, or, I mean, right now it's $2 higher than regular manager rate. So.
Do we have 2 years worth of data?
No, it's more than that. I have to look
okay.
it up. But yeah, it's definitely more than that. We've been doing it for several years now. So we could consider it if it's something we want to do. I know I've been asked about like other positions in the past, and there's just not a big enough sample size to pull from. I think like educators have been asked in the past. That just kind of, they get lumped in as technicians overall. I mean, I think we only have a few true educators in the state, so does it make sense to have their own specific rate when it could possibly be lower than the tech rate anyway? So is that what you would want? Probably not. So, but yeah, I mean, we could have those discussions if it's something we want to do for next year.
Thanks, Ben. Anyone else have questions for Ben? Great report. Big change from 10 years ago. Big change.
Yeah.
This is Caitlin. I have a question about the requirement for the senior manager position. The position requires 10 years of experience with a district, but those 10 years don't necessarily have to be within the manager.
Correct. Yeah, it's just, it's the same qualification as a senior tech. You've just been with districts for over 10 years, essentially. Yeah.
So it wouldn't even have to be with the same district. You could be.
No, and that's why we started tracking that like 5 years ago, because we would have a tech or anybody go from one district to another, and then that new district would start them at year one all over again. So we had no way to track that. So now we ask, how many years have you been with your current district and how many years have they been with districts, you know, any district as a whole?
Further questions, anyone? Thanks, Ben.
Welcome. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is advisory reports. Start with you.
So just in Region 2, I had my regional managers meeting last week, and that was pretty well attended. And I wanted to thank Greg and Ryan for their help during the meeting. Also working on some conservation skills workshop, stormwater coursework for the upcoming workshop this fall. And then we have Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition meeting scheduled for next week on the 26th. So we're excited about that and looking forward to the SPAC meeting as well. I saw that Bethany sent the agenda out, so that's good. And other than that, just working on some grant closeouts coming in and getting those finalized and doing a few board meetings and a couple of board trainings as well coming up in the next few weeks. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you. Vic?
Yeah, thanks. A pretty similar report as to PJ's for Region 1. A lot of applications being written by Region 1 districts this week. I believe a number of those CRF applications that were submitted come from a Region 1 county. So feverishly typing into their computers and hopeful that a number of those will be successful. Managers meeting in Region 1 also convened a week ago or so. Great attendance, and districts are excited about the construction season and excited about all the funding opportunities that are available to them. That's about it.
Tyler?
A lot of database updates on my end, working to get our database organized and situated like the new SW forms that were presented on a little bit earlier in the bit. We're also exploring options for creating a brand new database for Ag and Market / the state committee to just kind of get us to a new spot and maybe have front-facing forums where districts and stuff could enter their information. So a lot of database stuff on my end. I think more interest in data management from districts as well. So I think I'm up to 8 or 9 districts that are interested in a personalized database where they can manage AEM data. They'll have all their contract data and all that type of stuff. So a lot of database life right now.
I have a little bit to report on, we're having problems getting parts on flare repair through environmental services out of South Carolina. We are in touch with a company in California that's making flares that will apparently operate at a much lower gas production. We're researching that to find out, is that a viable option? I believe they have quite a few out there. So little bit discouraged with environmental fabrics and trying to get the parts we need to keep these things working right. I'll keep you updated. Darren, you have anything to report?
I don't think so, Dale.
Thank you. Erica, anything to report?
Maya, thanks. Good to see everyone and appreciate the presentation.
All right, thank you. Bethany, I'll turn it over to you.
Matt?
Just got one question or concern raised by district staff. When they get payments from the state, and I'm not sure if it's for part A, B, and C, or grants, or both, they say they don't get any notification about it, and there's nothing indicating what the money's for. And so it all comes, and then they gotta try to figure out, they don't know it's coming, and they see it, and then they gotta figure out where it's come from, and they wondered if there was any solution to that, or any way of improving that system.
It's a good question, because those payments are made, through the SFS system, and a lot of that's, out of our control. I don't know why the payments are batched.
Yeah, they lump them, right?
And it's Yeah.
Matched for efficiency, because it's
Is,
not just
is,
part of it.
is there anybody there that can be?
SSS.
Yeah, we require, and then we require districts to, be able to deposit into separate accounts based on whatever the source is. And it's counterintuitive and productive for internal controls purposes.
I didn't know.
They had submitted 3 claims.
So that's, if it's possible to talk to anybody there to see if there's any, if they could do anything at all to system.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know, I don't know. And on our end, all of the payments, for districts, the funding is paid through the Environmental Protection Fund. So we have to track them on lists, and get them approved and then process them. So we have on our end, I think, a pretty good, knowledge of where they are in that process up until the point where, Maureen Irish in our division, sends them down to fiscal, okay to be paid. And then it kind of just works through that. So, I mean, up until that point, we can let districts know, yep, that's been put on a monthly list that has to get approved by Department of Budget. Okay, that list was approved. We're working on getting them processed. And then, it's usually a couple of weeks, I think, from when Maureen gives the okay to our fiscal management division to pay them. It takes a couple of weeks probably for that stuff to hit district accounts.
And if they've got contracts with other state agencies, it can complicate even further, right?
Yeah.
Then you go back to the agency code, Ag and Market 06000, at least you can tell where it came from.
Right, yeah.
We were just talking about databases for AIM and all this other related stuff. And we can assist districts with data, financial, so that it can be easier to track. But that's been a long-standing concern of ours when we converted everything to ACH, right? Like, we're not going back to paper checks, right? We're not writing checks.
Oh, yeah.
But the ACH does that for efficiency, they just blast whatever eligible payments from the state and combines them.
Yeah, it just seems that there would be, that they should have a way to, tell the district what it's for, or at least that it's coming.
You remember doing travel expense reports, right? Like, you put in 15 different expense reports and each one of them have to be completely itemized, but then you'll get a lump check.
Yeah.
Well,
I did my lesson, I did each individually, just make life difficult for them
Yeah.
Because technically, when they put it in SFS, everything is spelled out what it is.
Yeah.
It's really when it goes to OSC, the Office of State Comptrollers, they're the ones in tax and finance that actually put that in your ACH account or give you a check, and that's where the complication is. They don't, the systems don't, or they don't go in and look what that system says. They're just pulling from the payment reference number and they're sending out that payment. So SFS, you actually have to go in and enter like codes and put down what they are and why we're giving out those payments and reasons. But once it hits OSC and they actually make a payment and a reference number, that's where it gets lost. So it's not even SFS. I mean, it's more or less Office of State Comptroller's office.
Then the number of times that districts are receiving interest incorrectly, that has been reduced, so that problem has been fixed. So they should be receiving the exact number that they've claimed that they've vouchered for, so that should kind of somewhat help.
So you vouched for 3 things and they all hit at the same time, blackout
Right.
period, when we come out of that, that's probably a time where it's
Right.
more apt to happen. And you can at least subtract each amount and get down to 0, you should be good to know what they're from, Good point though about the comptroller. I think that's, because that's who ultimately cuts the check.
That's the level that.
Yeah, and that's what they weren't sure, where that was coming from.
And if we can't help the system, we can certainly provide the information. We get those questions often. We can help them unwind it, figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah, I know with state aid, that was an issue, and I talked to Claudette last year down in fiscal, and which those go through a little bit differently than the rest of the vouchers, but she said, when you fill out the spreadsheet, like, put this first, and then it should show up better on the district's bank account when it comes through. It should be more evident of what it is. So I don't know if that's applicable to the rest of our claim for payments or not, but I haven't heard any follow-up on that, so.
That's all I got, Dale.
That was enough. I don't think you resolved anything there, did you? It just sounds to me like they're getting a check and they have no idea what they're gonna do with it, except, well, let's go cash it and have some fun. All right.
Just for the record, that was a joke, everyone.
Dale and Bethany, I see Wendy Walsh entered another good point in the chat there where it would also be nice to be able to add more than one account to receive payment as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Your
again, I
vendor
think-
ID number and all goes into that account.
You gotta go back. Thanks for coming.
See you, Victor.
Okay, so before we get into, the state committee staff reports, I'll just run through the advisory members. Ag and Markets.
Thank you. This is Jeff Keogh, and I have a little update related to the ongoing efforts by DEC and other project partners to create a New York State reforestation plan. This is an ambitious effort that takes a look at all the lands within New York State. It's being conducted with 204 project partners, which includes 127 agencies, to take a hard look at both public and private lands that have the potential to be reforested, regenerated, or afforested. Okay, so those are different terminology related to creating or supporting forests. And the scope of the plan goes so far as to touch on trees as a commodity, seed procurement, nursery improvement, and tree industry supports. I think with the ultimate goal being 1.7 million acres of lands identified or targeted for these practices. This is closely aligned and in support with the governor's recent announcement to plant 25 million trees in the next 9 years. But it's unclear really how this New York State reforestation plan will be implemented. I mean, a lot of this is stemming from the Climate Act and likely funded from the Bond Act to create carbon reserves and so on. It's unclear to me right now how that might play into how districts distribute and plant trees. But to me, it looks like districts will be well suited to provide technical expertise, site suitability, landowner engagement, and everything else that comes with it. Also, this goal of whether it's 25 million acres or I'm sorry, 25 million trees or 1.7 million acres will also include trees in the built environment. Now, whether that is supplementing urban forests with street trees or yard/parkland trees, but also the concept of microforests, which is really accelerates the ecosystem goods and services in a small area. So basically, the team at Ag and Markets that's going to be working closely with this is going to be Brian Steinmuller, of course. Scott Fickbaum is going to, I think, play an important role for districts to funnel the information to. I'll be here in a supporting role. In a past life, I was an arborist, a consulting forester, and an urban forester. So all these different concepts will be elevated in the coming years. I'd like to make myself available for any questions you may have. And also Tim Sheldon will be supporting us as well. So I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I think the bigger policy ideas can be covered by Brian right now, but the plan is scheduled to be completed late 2024. Implementation's another story, but if you have any questions.
No, I'll just say thank you, Jeff, for giving that update. It's an initiative that you guys have been involved in. I know the person who's heading up the development of the plan also presented, but at CDEA, and I'd like to invite her to an upcoming state committee meeting as well. But I think it's an important initiative, and I wanted the state committee to hear about where things were at. This morning, I mean, if you're in a place to share some of those links in the chat, I think that would be great on how if other folks want to be engaged, I think there's other opportunities to become involved in the development of the plan.
Yeah, the planning effort has a dashboard. I will attempt to share that link right now. Yep.
Jeff, that was great. This is Brian. I don't have really much to add to that at all. And Bethany already mentioned that districts have been approached and engaged in the effort. I see that as continuing. Our role, obviously, in addition to wood products and nursery capacity, is to make sure districts' voices are heard early and often as a major force of implementing the recommendations in the plan. And I don't know what those will be. I think we have a good idea. This is actually, something that stems from previous reports that have been generated and shared primarily through the development of the scoping plan, the Climate Act. But, we've also been fostering a relationship with DEC's Division of Lands and Forests through many initiatives, and this is one of the latest ones. So they are fully aware of the efforts and the projects and programs that districts administer and have started to reach out independent of us. And I think that's great. But Bethany, to your point, having them come to committee meeting, talk about Regenerate New York maybe too, right? As a part of this effort, I think would be great. So Jeff, thank you for that primer. That was excellent.
Sure, and I
They usually have here.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. It's great to hear that a plan is moving forward in development. I've been concerned for several years on how we're going to move forward with this 1.7 million acres of reforestation and everything. And great that there's so large a group working toward that goal, which is it'll be one of the larger projects in the state, I believe.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jeff, this is Caitlin from the Conservation District Employees Association. JJ Cathy gave a wonderful presentation to the association in June, and JJ also recently presented at last Thursday's Black River Watershed Conference.
Oh.
And it's great to see information being provided at all levels, watershed conferences, at meetings like this. She's been in contact with the Upper Susquehanna Coalition and some other district staff members who are certified foresters. And I know that districts are eager to share any information that would help to bolster the reforestation plan. Thank you for your lead on this, and we look forward to working with you.
Of course, and I just shared that link in the chat. So basically, it's a call for input. There is a way to embrace it. So if there is a tremendous request for information or comments from the districts, you may want to coordinate that with Scott just so that can be cleaned up. But that link will get you most of the information.
Thank you, Jeff. How about Jared Poppley with Cornell CALS?
Sure. So Julie Suarez, Associate Dean here at CALS, wanted me to share some information about the 2024 Soil Health and Climate Resiliency Field Days, Thursday, July 25th in Seneca County. And here's the link for that as well. We've also got an open position for the Mohawk River Coordinator. And I'll post that in there also. Also worth noting, many of you folks are familiar with NAC, or the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative. Scott Jackson, who kind of helped start that, is going to retire in 2025. We're currently working on transitioning that and seeing who's going to pick that up, but it sounds like the Southeast Area Regional Partnership, or SART, is going to pick that up and kind of expand it throughout the U.S. as well. So exciting things happening. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. I saw the email come through. I think we forwarded out about the Mohawk River coordinator position, and I was just curious, will that person out of the Water Resources Institute interact with the Mohawk River Watershed Coalition at all?
Yes, I mean, they're not going to be sitting in Cornell here, so they'll be put in a DEC office up that way somewhere. I'm not exactly sure more information on that position. I just know it's open for folks to apply for.
Great. Well, thank you for that update. Caitlin, CDEA.
Thank you, Bethany. We held a great meeting May 30th through 31st in beautiful Wyoming County. I want to thank our hosts for a great tour of Letchworth State Park, as well as all of our partners who attended to provide updates. The New York State Erosion and Sediment Control Certification Program is holding a review course August 14th and 15th in Ballston Spa. Additionally, the exam will be offered August 16th in Ballston Spa, and there are separate registrations, one for the review course and a second for the exam. Those interested in registering can visit the CDEA website at www.nyscdea.com. Mark your calendars for the 23rd annual CDEA Golf Tournament to benefit Employees Association programs. This will be held Thursday, August 1st, 10 o'clock at Castlewood Golf Club in Canastota. There's a $75 registration fee that covers green fees, cart, lunch, and dinner. Registration is due July 22nd, and this is open to all of our conservation partners. The registration link is also on the CDEA website. New York State is hosting the National Conservation Foundation Envirothon at Hobart and William Smith Colleges, Geneva, July 28th through August 3rd. Volunteers and donations are needed, and I will put the sign up for volunteers in the chat. Our New York State Fair Committee is gearing up for another great booth based on the history then and now. Soil and Water Conservation District history, current work, and careers. As PJ and Vic mentioned, the Conservation Skills Workshop Committee is working on training descriptions and presenters. You can all save the date for September 23rd through 26th. And also, planning has begun for the 2024 Administrative Conference. Dustin Lewis, Saratoga County Soil and Water, is taking course suggestions. I followed up with civil service regarding some challenges that districts face with addressing the long length of time it takes for exams to be held after they are ordered, and I'm still waiting to hear back. I actually have an old-fashioned letter that I'm going to pop in the mail as my next resort. The New York State Envirothon was a tremendous success, and CDEA thanks the committee members as well as our volunteers who worked very hard over the course of that event. The Mount Academy team from Ulster County received first place and will go on to represent New York at the NCF Envirothon. I'm working on the June CDEA newsletter and hope to have that out before June rolls over to July. There was a subcommittee that was formed during the May CDEA meeting to reopen our bylaws. We received some comments after the revisions were sent to print for the 2024 annual meeting, and we will digest those comments and make our final revisions and send them out for Conservation District review. And finally, I want to thank all of the AEAs for hosting excellent and informative managers meetings. Ryan did a great job for the Division 5 meeting. Lots of timely and important topics were covered. Bethany, that's all for me.
Hey, Caitlin, thank you for that report. I wondered if you might just share with the committee about the press release that you put together about Conservation District tree sales. I think I missed your email before the meeting, and I'm so glad that it was picked up, and I was wondering if you might share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So press is one of the things that I really, really love to do. Press releases, putting together reports and videos, etc. And I reached out to Bethany as well as Commissioner Ball to submit some quotes for a press release that was recently published in the Adirondack Almanac. And this is highlighting not only Conservation District tree sales, but also how conservation districts are supporting the governor's goals for planting trees throughout New York State. And I submitted it to the Hamilton County Express. Hopefully they'll pick it up. I also reached out to the Albany Times-Union. They're hard to get news in, but they may pick it up if it's a slow day. This is really helping to highlight all of the initiatives that districts are capable of. Not only tree sales, much more than that, climate resiliency, watershed quality, supporting farmers, and it was amazing that the press release was really bolstered by Bethany and the commissioner. And I want to thank you both for getting those quotes to me. There was a really great photo from the Hamilton County tree sale. A father and his 3 children were holding up the trees that they just ordered, and they were gonna have a whole family picnic and plant their trees. You know, soft news, but boy, with a really science-based message that districts get the job done.
Well, no, thank you for drafting that and putting it together. And I'll be sure to share that with our press team here at the front, at the department. And we might be able to get a social media post or something off of it. So really, really appreciate you doing that effort.
And I think I noticed a pretty large increase in the numbers of trees available to the public from past years to this year, right? So that's a reportable metric in our annual report, and that was pretty awesome, like sizable increase.
Yeah.
I won't say what the numbers are because you're gonna see them in the annual report, but big. I tried to get everybody excited about it.
Thank you, Caitlin. Moving on, Department of Health, Paul.
Yes, hello. One thing in particular, the health department, along with DEC and other parties, are gearing up for this year's kind of algal bloom season, and we'll see how things play out. Fortunately, last year was kind of an easy year by and large, given the weather patterns that we had. It seems like, this is anecdotally, the kind of weather pattern we're in right now, if we get a lot of this kind of weather, tends to be the kind of summers that we have issues, where water heats up. We have very warm waters, and particularly in some areas of the state, we have a persistent south wind for days and days and days. It tends, what algae there is, tends to blow onto the north sides of the lakes. And in the case of the Finger Lakes, it seems that that's where a lot of towns are with water intakes. So that's kind of an issue. Let's see. The watershed agricultural program, I just want to report, is in really good shape right now. It hit a low point in 2019 when New York City Controller put a halt to the program because of the potential of misuse funds. It turned out that there weren't any misuse funds, but there were a lot of very sloppy accounting going on. And they've since, several years ago, hired a full-time accountant. And she's done a really fantastic job getting all the books in order, introducing new software to account for funds, and just recently an agreement with New York City DEP to streamline the contracts that they operate under, so that instead of having many different contracts and splitting up costs, in many different columns, there'll be fewer contracts, so it should be a lot easier to keep track of what funds are being used for what. So that's a really good success story. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Everybody
hi
stay cool
everyone.
today.
Hi everyone, this is Morgan Tubble. I'm with Paul at State DOH. I joined the meeting late today, but I just wanted to add on real quick that DOH always is taking a look at HABs, especially if they're in water bodies with public water sources for drinking water, if it's an intake source for a plant. We evaluate those as part of our agreement with DEC. And also in regards to the Watershed Agricultural Council located in Walton, New York. Yeah, everything has been moving along much better, and I am amazed at how well they have bounced back from difficulties, and they seem stronger than ever. Thank you.
Thank you both. Yeah, that's great news for sure. Appreciate the update. Department of State.
I don't have much. Just a reminder that CFA is open, closing at the end of July. Department of State has given priority points to help municipalities and other eligible applicants kind of prep for Bond Act funding. So giving priority points to the need to do kind of feasibility and early design for Bond Act eligible projects. So definitely any districts that work regularly with communities, I know there's a few that we work with pretty regularly, keep that in mind. And our eligibility criteria for our Bond Act program is still not posted, hopefully by the end of June, but I've been saying that for like 2 months now, so don't quote me on that. But we're hoping to get some RFAs out at the end of the summer.
Thanks, Kate, and I'll just put this out there. Maybe after those eligibility criteria get posted, I'd like to have you present to the state committee if any of the programs that you've got coming up for Bond Act are applicable to soil and water districts.
Yeah, definitely. The one of the programs, it's currently in eligibility criteria, so I guess it could potentially change, but soil and waters would be eligible, grantee. But fingers crossed that doesn't get changed on us.
Yeah, looking forward to it then. Thank you very much. And I see we did have Paula Bagley from NRCS join. Paula, do you have any updates for us today?
I don't have any updates. Sorry, I don't know if Blake sent anything ahead, but it's a beautiful day and I hope everyone's doing well.
Thank you, Paula. We hope you're
Hey,
doing well.
actually, Bethany, I have a question. When
Yeah,
we
go
do
ahead.
post our eligibility guidelines, we're planning on doing like a lot of outreach and kind of sending a bunch of messages to our current grantees, and we have access to like the lists of contacts for every municipality in the state because of our local government office. But if we were to send you, some information, would you be able to share it with all the districts or
yeah,
forward
Yeah,
something for us? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're more than happy to forward that, or if, in general, anything that you would like to get out to soil and water conservation districts, we're happy to help distribute that.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, I believe that concludes advisory member reports, so we'll just jump to state committee staff. We'll do the folks in the room here, and then I'll call on the people who are on the line. I will go first. So I wanted to put something out there for a future state committee meeting. We are planning a 2-day in the field meeting in October. We try to do this every year, where we kind of combine a state committee meeting with a conservation project tour, just to get folks out there and see what's going on, see what districts are doing. So this year we are working with our partners at Cornell, Julie Suarez and Brian Rahm, to plan a state committee meeting at Cornell University on campus, followed by a conservation project tour. So what I wanted to, I was hoping to get some feedback from the group today on potential dates. So we need to find probably a couple sets of dates to be able to provide to folks at Cornell to see if they can help us secure a meeting space. Our regular meeting, if we were to follow the third Tuesday schedule, would fall on October 15th, which is, the Tuesday right after Columbus Day. So just logistically, it's really difficult to plan one of these travel type meetings, following a holiday. So I was looking at the calendar and would like to suggest something, either the week of October 7th, which would be like the second week of October, or October 17th and 18th. I know later in the month in October, we run into the NYACD annual meeting event, so I don't want to conflict with that. So I guess I'm putting this out there for voting member consideration, primarily to make sure it's on your schedules, and to see what, which one of those dates might be best for folks. I know we're lacking one voting member, but I can reach out to Scott separately. So any thoughts on, the week of October 7th or October 17th and 18th, which is a Thursday and Friday?
Later October is better for me. 17th, 18th would be better.
Okay.
Darren, what do you think?
Honestly, the whole month of October is horrible for me. That's when we're pulling all of our fish out of ponds, is typically the month of October. So I have no idea.
Erica?
The first week won't work. I have a couple conferences already on the books, but the later dates that week, just on the 17th.
You kind of cut out there, Erica. Did you say the 17th and 18th would be tentative or okay?
Yeah, those, the earlier dates would not work. I'm
okay
at 2 other conferences, so I think the later part of the 17th, 18th, those dates are available.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think, can you reach out to Scott and see what he thinks too?
Yep.
We do need a quorum for this. This isn't, we've got to make sure we have a quorum for it. Either one for me is fine. Let's see what Scott says. This is this has the potential to be a great meeting, because you're going to hear some of the latest and best on research that Cornell is doing. So it's something that We haven't done it in a number of years, but I really enjoyed it the last time we did it.
So actually, that's, glad you bring it up, Dale, because that's kind of the second piece of feedback, I guess, I wanted to get from folks today. I had a preliminary phone call with Julie Suarez a couple of weeks ago, and we wanted to start getting some ideas on types of presentations that the state committee would like to hear. Particularly, like if there's any particular piece of, I guess, research that's going on at Cornell that you might be interested about. A couple of ideas that we initially came up with. We would like to invite Queering Ketterings and her team to present to the state committee on the work they are doing, particularly through the, I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but Nutrient Management Sphere program. Also would like to incorporate presentations from the Cornell, the Water Resources Institute team, perhaps on the local roads program or any work that you guys are doing that might be applicable to soil and water conservation districts. But is there any other ideas or thoughts out there? I think another one we came up with as well. Julie suggested that someone present who is more focused on urban agriculture. So that might be a good, but wanted to just allow folks time to, I guess, think about it and provide any ideas, and I can forward them along.
They do have, go ahead.
Maybe what
Go
would
ahead.
make sense is for us to kind of come up with a list of some of the research that's going on and go from there, kind of put it out to the group and see what you guys would like to hear from. So I can try and coordinate that or at least talk to Brian about it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I know they do have some new chambers where they put a cow in and they track gases produced, and I know they have them. I don't know if they've started any work on that. And that's
Methane
really,
chambers, yes, there was a ribbon cutting on that not that long ago. I think that would be cool to connect. The
the
nutrient.
track methane and everything else. It has, it's, the cow lives right in it and everything in and out is tracked. It'd be real interesting, at least get an update on it. Wouldn't have to have a whole thing on it, but other ideas, anyone?
Should we connect it all with the soil health team? It's pretty good connections already between visitors and the soil health team, but.
We have not
Yeah.
yet, but that's another great suggestion.
And they came not that long ago to talk about the benchmarking, but.
Well, this might be a little outside of their area, but maybe some presentation on forestry might be appropriate.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, no, they got a pretty good program through the State Forest, Cornell, and have been collaborating a lot with SUNY ESF and are collaborating on the Climate Smart Commodities program for quantification for self-measurement. Peter Smolich, Brett Chedzoy. Brett's more on the agri-forestry silvopasture side, but yeah.
That might be a good topic.
Also pretty well connected with a lot of district work so far.
I think you're gonna end up having to pick and choose because there's so many great topics you're gonna want to know about.
Yeah, I think so too, but I think this is a good list, and Jared, I like your idea of getting a list from you folks on what research and what's happening out there and what might be applicable. So I appreciate the time today and the couple minutes of discussion. We'll keep working and on putting this meeting together. I think it's going to be a really nice event. Personally, I've never been to Cornell University campus, so I'm looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a really good opportunity to reconnect with our partners at Cornell.
We used to do this pretty regularly, it's definitely a good thing to bring back post-COVID, be able to do so on campus and in person.
Great. Well, that is it for me. Brian, do you have anything further?
Very quick, and I saw Tim Sheldon was on earlier, but I just want to mention that Tim and I were invited to attend the U.S. Climate Alliance Learning Lab last week in Washington, D.C., all around methane measurement and mitigation. So we went down to represent the Department of Agriculture and Markets together with DEC and NYSERDA and Governor's Office official. And it was a really great 2-day event. We learned a lot. I think a lot of this information was it was very heady, and a lot of it went over my head. And luckily, there was a lot of information that was provided to us, and then deeper dive, so it was starting to absorb more and more. But I was also invited to present on the second day with a sectoral dive into agriculture, and I was on a panel with others talking about the scientific considerations in regards to methane and the environment, and certainly agriculture's contribution. But I kind of brought it home to what are we doing in New York and the implementation efforts, and including with other states, an opportunity to describe just how robust and technically proficient our conservation districts are, and how they are the key to implementing state's agricultural environmental management, which includes methane mitigation through CRF and other programs. I also had a slide. It was the day that the Enhanced Nutrient Methane Management Program came out. So that was great. Certainly wasn't given nearly enough time to talk about it all, but really great event. Many states were there, including Hawaii, actually, so had a lot of side conversations with folks as well to kind of talk about the work that we do. Tim, anything to add to that? I see you on camera now. Thank you.
Well, I mean, no, nothing to add. I definitely echo that it was, some of it was very technical, but it was great. Led to some great, especially day 2, led to some great conversations with other states and with other departments within the state, DEC and NYSERDA. It definitely helped just reiterate how important methane mitigation and management is, and how hopeful it is that the other states are trying to tackle this. It's not just us.
Yeah, great points. Thank you, Tim. That's it, I think.
Right, well,
Right.
Jason,
Okay, yeah, nothing beyond the CAFO grant that I went over, and reach out to me on questions for that. Thanks for letting me present today.
Oh yeah, I'm just doing skills workshop planning like some other people mentioned, so that's the only thing I haven't got to report. Melissa?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Submit your round 8 applications.
Thanks.
Get them where they're at.
Yeah, make sure your SharePoint's working too.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Good tip, Tim. Yeah.
Do some sample uploads.
So yeah, like Vic and PJ said, there's a lot of closeouts, AAM work going on, board meetings, managers meetings. Mine was well attended as well. It was good event overall. Just touch on something real quick. Bethany asked me to speak on, since I've been working on it. I got asked to participate in the Long Island Action Agenda Implementation Committee. This was a invite by DEC, Sue Van Patten, who works out of Albany but covers a lot of Long Island projects with DEC down there. So essentially it's a continuation of the Long Island Nitrogen Action Plan, which has been in effect for a while.
That one's easier to
That one is. It's better. We're extending it. But I guess I'm going to read some of this off of here so I don't get it wrong. But with the NAP plan, the Nitrogen Action Plan, they've successfully implemented 3 out of the 4 goals. So they're kind of looking at the the next steps, which is more implementation, I guess, as opposed to more planning. So they're trying to renew and update the program and turn it into this action agenda. And they formed a committee that was invite only essentially, and they looked at ag and markets, but specifically state committee as an agency that's already implementing projects. So that was the goal, was to try to get on agencies, groups, NGOs, whoever, that are actually more implementation focused. So on these meetings that we have about every 2 to 3 weeks, there's around 30 different groups that are on this committee. And essentially just different topics are discussed, you know, starting with like mission and vision statements and the goals of the program. And it kind of continues from there. There's definitely some voices on those calls that are louder than others, but what's also nice about it is that DEC has broken it down into smaller groups as well, so that I'll say more of the experts in that field, I guess, can give their more of their specific focus to certain topics. So like I'm on the clean water agriculture smaller working group, which is essentially just myself, someone from the Suffolk County Soil and Water, Farm Bureau, and DEC. That might be it. That's on there. And then so there's many of those different smaller working groups as well. Nassau Soil and Water is on a couple of them, but they're pretty good discussions overall. Some of them can get pretty lengthy. Originally, when they started this, I think they were planning on doing 5 to 7 of the larger group meetings. I'm pretty sure we're close to exceeding that already, and we have meetings booked out through at least the end of next month, if not into August. But they're focused on different topics such as like healthy habitat. Like I said, clean water is broken into several different categories. Sustainable communities, education and outreach, climate change partnerships, and more. You know, a lot of it's focused on not only aquifers and clean water, but also obviously the entire coastline, saltwater intrusion, that sort of thing. That can also be an issue on Long Island. So some of the conversations definitely go over my head, and which is why there's so many groups on it. But hopefully once they get the entire new agenda out there, they want to be able to use it to go after new funding opportunities through the Long Island Sound program or state programs. I think they're hoping that some DEC programs are already going to be able to fund some of this work as well. I think from our end of it, from Ag and Markets State Committee, I think a lot of what we're going to be doing as implementation, we're already kind of doing it through our various programs. So it's going to be, are there other opportunities out there to further those type of projects that we're already doing with the districts on Long Island in other ways. But that's just a brief rundown, I guess, of what that conversation has involved. Any questions?
No, thank you, Ben. I know that's a pretty new group, and I just thought it was an interesting initiative and something that was worth sharing here today. So keep us updated.
I will. I got one this afternoon.
Oh, great.
I don't know if you're gonna make it in time.
2 o'clock it starts.
Oh,
Yeah.
Highway.
Yeah, well, I'm not going down
Oh,
there.
So now I'll move to state committee staff who are on the line. Greg?
Bethany, thanks. Just a short, important, and fun one is May 15th marked the deadline for submittal of the AEM Leopold Conservation Award nominees. And while you're familiar with the process, we're not able to divulge the finalists or later on the award recipient. We can certainly give thanks to the 7 soil and water conservation districts and an associated 8 farms that they submitted. Really excellent slate of farms, district work, and you know, just a legacy of conservation and ag productivity. And they came from Cayuga, Essex, Jefferson, Tompkins, Ulster, Wayne, and Yates County. So really appreciate all their efforts, and stay tuned for the press release about the finalists, and then a later press release about the award recipient from the finalist pool. Always a rewarding, fun part of the job every year.
Thanks,
And I
Greg.
yield from there. Yep.
How about Brendan? Do you have anything to share today?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. I'll give one more shameless plug for the North American Manure Expo coming up on the 17th and 18th of July. The planning department, Greg, Ron, and myself will be there helping out with demonstrations and educational sessions and tours. And I know I've talked to a few of the state committee staff that are going to be attending, so that'll be a good event. Great opportunity to see a lot of the equipment and practices in action and shined up, that we that are eligible for a lot of our programs. So that's a good opportunity. Beyond that, as Tim said, con skills classes are starting to shape up. I got an exciting email yesterday for our basic fertilizer class. I've been in contact with someone from Caravale, and if the stars align, we might be able to have a tour of their blend facility in Auburn for that class. So that'll be good. If that interests you, look for details on that when course descriptions start to come out. Other than that, just plugging along, getting stuff ready.
Thanks, Brendan. Let's see, I believe that is all the state committee staff we have on the line. So I would like to just pause here, and if there are any conservation districts who are participating in the meeting today and would like to come off of mute and share any updates, please feel free to do so. Okay, and any members of the public who are on the line? All right, Dale, I think we have concluded that portion of the agenda.
Thank you, everyone. Great information. Next meeting date would normally be July 16th. Voting members, what do you think?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I will not.
Karen?
Sorry.
Erica, what'd you say?
I was just saying, I won't be available.
Okay. Darren, what do you think?
I think it looks all right for me.
Okay, well, that'll give us a quorum. Can you shoot an email to Scott and see what he thinks, Bethany? Or a
Yes,
message?
sure will.
That would be great. Right now, we will shoot for that July 16th then. Probably similar format what we have today for locations. Anything else anyone wants to bring up or cover while we're here? Thank you, everyone, for participating, and enjoy the nice hot weather. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.